Hi there, welcome to Floating in Dreams. This is going to be a full face makeup look with nothing but drugstore dupes. Welcome to everybody watching today. Thank you so very much for joining me. As part of Drugstore Week, I thought I could bring back a very old YouTube concept, which is dupes. We all love finding more affordable versions of higher end makeup, especially in this time of year where you're buying so many gifts for other people. I think focusing on drugstore makeup for yourself just makes a lot of sense. So I have gathered as many drugstore and high-end dupes that I could possibly find in my makeup collection that I can possibly throw on in a full face makeup look. A lot of these I've talked about a lot, but I have never really shown them on my channel. So today I'm going to be showing you the comparisons. The colors are not always a 100% match for some of these products, but the way the products perform and the formulas they have are really similar. And very often with these, I actually like the drugstore product better than I do the high-end version. As per usual, there will be loads of links in the description box down below to reviews. If you want to see swatches and what these products look like without all of the rest going on, then you can have a look at that. And I will have some shopping links as well, so you can shop any of these products. And that will be through an affiliate link program. So if you do shop through those, I could make a small commission. So the hair is out of my face, which means we can go in with our first step. And the first step is primer. I'm going to be doing high end on this side of my face and drugstore on this side. I have here the Catrice Aqua Splash Grip Primer and the Milk Makeup Hydro Grip Primer. You can also find a similar product, of course, from e.l.f. You can find a similar product from Essence. There are loads of dupes for this Milk Primer around. That's why I only bought the baby version, because I really enjoy the Milk product. But it can expire quite quickly. Like, it can go this really dark green color and it doesn't look that appealing. And I had a full size of it and I had to make sure I could use it up before it actually started doing that. With the drugstore versions, the e.l.f. one didn't work for me. It gave me an incredibly bad itchy feeling. So there's something in that formula that my skin doesn't like. The Essence was fine, but that's been used up. But Catrice came out with something super similar. It's just blue instead of green. But the product performs the same. So here is what those two primers look like side by side. I feel the Milk one is a slightly bit more glowy than the Catrice one. That one dries down a little bit better, but I do feel I got a little bit more of the Milk over on this side than I did the Catrice. Of course, I applied the Catrice one first, so that has already been absorbed by my skin and it already feels a little bit tacky. I feel as the Milk one dries down, it loses some of that shine, and I feel they're very comparable in the way they sit on the skin and how they make my makeup last. I don't think you need to necessarily shell out the amount of that Milk goes for. Since this week is going to be Black Friday week though, Milk will have a huge sale, so I'll leave some of those details in the description box down below in case you were looking to shop through milkmakeup.com. And then my next step would be foundation, and I have two types of product here that I want to use as foundation. I'm first going to go in with this set of products, and then I'm going to go in with this set of products. The reason why I want to layer it like that is because the second set of products, unfortunately, the more affordable version, is A, really hard to find, and B, it seems to have been discontinued. So I didn't want to showcase that too widely, but Catrice, let me do it this way. But Catrice came out with the Soft Glam Filter Fluid, which is actually a dupe for the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter. I have compared these in a short on the channel before, and I prefer the Catrice one over the Charlotte Tilbury one. The Catrice one on a good skin day, which I seem to be having today, I can actually get away with by itself. I don't need any other foundation with this. But with the Charlotte Tilbury, I find it doesn't have the same level of coverage as the Catrice one does. And I just wanted to rave about this comparison yet again. Of course, there is also a version again from this by e.l.f. There is also a version by Essence. The Essence one has a really, really weird smell, so I would not recommend it. It smells like burned plastic. And the e.l.f. one that I tried is just far too dark, so, and also far too orange for me. So this has been the best shade dupe for me for the shade I have in the Charlotte, which is shade 2 Fair. I have the Catrice one in 010 Fairlight. And here was what both the Catrice and Charlotte Tilbury filter fluids look like. I feel these are very similar on the skin. In fact, now that I've put them on side by side, I really don't see a difference. You don't need to shell out this much money for the full size of the Charlotte Tilbury one. The Catrice one is around 8 or 9 euros over here. It's probably going to be more expensive if you're in a different country. But since that product doesn't have a lot of coverage, I thought I could go in with a skin tint over top just to show you another option. Like I said, the affordable version here is very difficult to find if you're not in the Netherlands, because this is the Bay Shake Up Skin Tint from HEMA, and it seems to have been discontinued, but it is a great dupe for the Glossier skin tint in G11. So this is in shade G11. This one is in shade 1 Natural Tan. I know, like, I've had this for a while, so I know that Glossier has changed their shade names, and I don't know what this corresponds to in the new line, you could say. And what's so weird about this HEMA one is that it looks really dark when it first comes out, but when you apply it, it looks a lot lighter. So when you blend it out, it turns a fair bit lighter than how it comes out of the bottle. I've always found that really strange. And that's what these two look like compared to each other. As you can see, there is no difference. It's even the same shade, which I had not expected, to be quite fair. I had really expected this shade to be slightly off, like that this was going to pull a little bit more yellow on me, but as it like sits on the skin, it works really well. And then the Glossier side just looks just as well. So a really good dupe in my makeup collection for sure, but not really widely available, I'm afraid. For concealer, I have these two. Of course, L'Oreal, the company, owns both YSL and L'Oreal, so you're going to find a lot of dupes in their respective makeup lines. The All Hours concealer I tried from YSL this year for the first time, as well as the True Match concealer, and I think just by looking at the doe foots of these, like, you can tell that they were trying to do the same thing. They both have this sort of almost triangular sort of applicator. So that to me is really an indicator that this L'Oreal concealer is an attempt at making a more affordable version of the YSL. L'Oreal has had many YSL product dupes in their range over time. And as I was using this, I was like, you know what this reminds me of? It reminds me a lot of the YSL. So I'm today putting it to the test and see how similar these actually are. I definitely think they can be called a dupe. I do feel that the L'Oreal one is a little bit more emollient on the skin. The YSL one feels a little bit drier. I do think shade-wise, again, it's a shade that looks very similar to what I've got going on naturally anyways. So it's a really good shade match, and the shades are pretty similar. The YSL one is in LC1. The L'Oreal one is in 1R. Both lines run really yellow though, so if you're super pink toned and cool toned, this may not be a good option for you. But for me, they work really well. I think the level of coverage they have is very comparable, and in terms of wear time, this is where the comparison truly came in. I feel both of them work tremendously well in terms of wear time and it not creasing on me whatsoever. And then we need to go into powder. I have my Hourglass Ambient Lighting Powder in Diffused Light here, which is a travel size that I've been using all year. And I just picked up a new Kiko Milano Radiant Fusion. powder in shade 1. And I'll hold them up to you side by side because these are very similar indeed. I'm not sure if you can tell just from looking at them in the pan. I do have a short up where I swatched them side by side if you want to be convinced. But this is a very comparable powder. The only reason why I have the Hourglass in the travel size, because this doesn't come in a travel size, is so that I have a travel size powder to take with me when I'm traveling and I don't have to take this big guy with me. And so I can show it to you in videos and still have it for comparison. That's actually why I bought minis of the Milk Makeup and the Charlotte Tilbury as well when I found them. I was like, that way I can always show them as a comparison in videos without having to commit to the full size. So let me apply these side by side so you can see the effect. And I don't use a lot of powder, so I prefer a setting powder over something that's like a finishing powder over something that's more of a setting powder, you could say. So here is what the Hourglass and the Kiko look like side by side. I really cannot tell a difference with how these sit on my skin, how they make my makeup wear, and I would choose the Kiko one over the Hourglass every single time. As I mentioned, the only reason why I have this mini is because it makes for a great travel powder. Brow products, again, I only use drugstore brow products, so there are no dupes there. I haven't found any high-end brow products ever that I truly loved. So, and especially for how quickly you can go through brow products, I just don't find it worth it to go high-end for them. What I can tell you, however, is that my brow gel, which is the Essence Make Me Brow in shade Blondie Brows, is a great alternative to things like Benefit Gimme Brow or the Glossier Boy Brow. I tried all of those in the past. Like, I went on this hunt to find out if I could find a high-end version of this essentially for me, because this is the one I've used for years, but I always come back to this one and it's pennies at the drugstore. Brows are done, time for bronzer, and I actually have two that I want to show you again. So I think I'm just gonna put them on together. I think I'm gonna do the stick bronzers more so on the perimeter on my face, and then I'm gonna do the compact bronzers more so on my cheeks, because I think that will be better application wise. So I have the Rare Beauty bronzing stick and the Kiko Sculpting Touch contour stick. This is technically a contour, but on me it is warm toned enough for it to work as a bronzer. If you have warm toned skin, this could definitely work as a contour on you. It just doesn't work like that on me. And I think these are very comparable in terms of quality and what they do. I really love my Rare Beauty one. I definitely think it's one of my favorite bronzing sticks I have in my collection, but the Kiko is such a good one and it's such a solid pick, and I was like, you know what, these are also a dupe for sure. So if you want this but you don't have the money, go for the Kiko. So I just warm it up on the back of my hand just a little bit, and then I pick it up with my Spectrum BO1 brush, and then I just dot it on. And I think actually compared to the Kiko, this is going to be a more yellow tone shade. So I think I'll like the Kiko better on myself than this Rare Beauty one, especially for now. Like, I could have Kiko for the winter time, Rare Beauty for the summertime, that sort of thing. So here is the Kiko, working it into the brush, and then just dotting it around. Oh no, they're very similar. Ooh. So the Rare Beauty one is in shade Power Boost, and the Kiko one is in shade 200. And I actually think there is no difference. Like, shade-wise, these are even the same. Okay, I had not expected that. I definitely thought there was going to be a shade difference, but this is very comparable. And then what I like to do is that I go back in with my foundation brush just so there are no harsh lines and it looks weird. For the compact bronzers that I want to use on my cheeks, I'm going to go in with my Makeup by Mario Soft Sculpt Transforming Skin Enhancer in shade Light, which is duped by the Makeup Revolution Ultra Cream Bronzer in Light. These are really good products. Catrice do a version of this as well, but that one gets hard pan really easily, so I prefer my Makeup Revolution over the Catrice one, because it just is just as easy to pick up as this is. Let me do the Makeup Revolution one first. Going in with that same Spectrum brush, and I just pick this up straight from the compact, but then I bounce it on the back of my hand to get the product into the brush, and then I bounce it onto my face. That way I don't get any weird patches. I definitely think that the Makeup by Mario is a little bit lighter weight in terms of texture. I feel there's more color payoff with the Makeup Revolution, so that if that's your preference, then that may be something as well. And I feel that shade Light in the Makeup by Mario has a bit more pink to it than the Makeup Revolution does. So the Makeup Revolution is ever so slightly more yellow toned and therefore warmer than the Makeup by Mario one has. So I feel that this looks a bit more natural on my skin. This looks a bit more, a little heavier, you could say, but they are just as good. Like, they're very comparable products in how they wear and how they sit on your skin. But I do think that this is a little bit more pigmented almost than this is. There's more load in the Makeup Revolution. Which brings me to highlighter, and we're gonna do a fully cream cheek because that's where I have most dupes in these departments. And I wanted to talk about this. This is the RMS Beauty Living Luminizer, and I have found a dupe at the UK drugstore in the Studio London range, which is the Superdrug only range. So you need to go to a Superdrug to find this. And this is the You Do You Face Gloss Hydrate and Illuminate. This only comes in one shade. This does come in other shades, but it's this glass skin-like sort of product, and I really like it. So all I do with this is that I just warm it up with my finger, and then I just tap it on where I would apply highlighter. And this is very subtle. It's that sort of lit from within, like wet highlighter look over a very heavy sparkly one, because that's not the intention of the product. So here is what the Superdrug looks like. So here's what the RMS Beauty looks like. It's this very sort of fresh, wet look kind of highlighter, as I was explaining, and this has the exact same effect. I believe the Superdrug one retails for like £6, maybe even less. I think it was like £4 or £5 even. And the RMS one is definitely a lot more expensive, but this is beautiful. And then, of course, we need to apply these two. This is the Glossier Cloud Paint in the shade Storm. And I feel the MUA blushed liquid blushes are very similar to the Glossier. What I have found, though, is that the MUA line doesn't have the same shades as the Glossier line. However, formula-wise, packaging-wise, they are straight-on dupes. I decided to go for Rouge Noir in the MUA because I think it's going to be closest to Storm. I have Storm and Wisp in the Glossier. I have Dusty Rose. I think I have 4 shades of this. So I like this actually better, and it's really cheap. Again, UK only as far as I know, because MUA isn't shipping internationally. However, I find MUA on Notino, which is more helpful if you're in the EU. If you're not in the EU, I can't help you. But Notino has MUA, and they sell their products. A little goes a long way with these. I first want to compare the shades. I think Storm may be a little bit more berry. Oh, it's actually a little bit more brown. Oh, interesting. So the MUA one is up top, and here is Glossier Storm. So MUA Rouge Noir, and this is Glossier Storm. So the way I apply cream blush or liquid blush is that I will actually pick a little bit up from the back of my hand, and then I rub my fingers together, and I just dot it on. And I concentrate it in the area where I want most of it to go, and then I use my fingers to sort of tap it out, and I go in with a clean finger to blend out the edges. So I was right, the shade isn't exactly 100% the same, which is funny, because these do exactly the opposite on my cheeks of what they look like in the swatch, because the MUA looks a lot more brown toned, and the Glossier looks a lot more berry. Now, if I think it looks a little bit intense in some spaces and I want to blend it more, I just take my foundation brush and I tone it down, especially with these more intense shades like this. Like, these are not meant to go, like, they're not targeted towards fair skin. Both of these shades are targeted to deeper skin tones, but with a very light hand, I feel you can make it work. So now it is time to move on to the eye look, and because I just want to show you as many dupes as I possibly can, I am not going to use an eyeshadow palette. I don't have many drugstore eyeshadow palettes in my makeup collection currently that I feel make for really good dupes, but I do have options in like liners and singles. So in eyeliner, I really rate the Victoria Beckham eyeliners really highly. This is the Satin Kajal eyeliner in the shade Cocoa. I'm not sure if you can see that really well, but it's a really nice dark brown. But I also really like my Kiko eyeliners. This is the Intense Color Lasting eyeliner in shade 4, which is a really nice dark brown as well. So I figured one eye with the Victoria Beckham and one eye with the Kiko. I think the Kiko is a touch lighter. I think Cocoa is more like almost a brown leaning towards black. And I think this is more like a true brown, but we'll see how that pans out. I also wanted to feature these because I feel packaging wise, these Moira single shadows look like they definitely took a line out of Victoria Beckham's book. However, I remember L'Oreal shadows that also had this kind of packaging, you know, where it was like the twist on lids. I don't remember what they were called, but I used to have so many of them, and I really like my L'Oreal ones. I'm using the Victoria Beckham one in the shade Mink, which I think I'm going to use a little bit as like a smudgy liner on my top lash and along the bottom lash line. Because the product I want to use all over my lids, I cannot use on my bottom lashes. And then I wasn't sure. I think I'm going to have to go for the Moira Star Show Shadow Pot in shade Muse, because I think that is going to be most similar to Mink. But I also have Eureka, which I think is going to be lighter. So I think I'm going to go, because Mink is quite a dark shade. So this I think is going to be too light. This is what Eureka looks like. And as you can see, they have the same sort of packaging where it has a little extra lid. And I definitely here again think that the shades aren't going to be exact. I think Muse is a little bit more golden toned than Mink is. We'll figure something out. And because I think that they might be, well, they're not super duper dupey, but if you want an alternative for these Pop Shot eyeshadows from Charlotte Tilbury, you definitely don't need to spend this much money on a single shadow. But the Kiko water shadows, I have shade Smoky Quartz in the Pop Shots, and I felt that this water shadow in shade 6 could give a similar effect. I think these are more sparkly, but the newly released water shadows also have a bit more of a hint of sparkle. And the good thing about these Kiko ones is that they can be used wet or dry. So I thought that this could be something to top over or maybe use in conjunction somehow with these liquid eyeshadows. So I have the Lisa Eldridge Liquid Lurex here. This is in shade Emily. And I'm going to be comparing it to the Essence Shimmering Eye Tint, or Luminous Eye Tint, that's what it's called, in Shimmering Taupe. We all know this is one of my long-standing liquid eyeshadow favorites. The only problem with this, I cannot use this on my lower lash line because it irritates my eyes too much. So I was thinking a combination of this, or maybe this as a base, with this on top and then this on the lower lash line. I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet. I'm actually now thinking this as a base, the potted shadows as a base with this on top, and then this as lower lash line, and then this to accentuate the waterline. I think that can work. So let me quickly put an eye look together, and then I'll be back with you shortly. Alright, so that is the eye look all done. I finished off the look with the ColourPop setting spray. I tend to only use the ColourPop Pretty Fresh setting spray as my only setting spray pretty much, so that's drugstore. And also my mascara are usually Maybelline, L'Oreal, Essence, or Catrice, so those are also always from the drugstore, so I don't have too many dupes there. I like the eye looks on both sides. This one is a little darker and smokier. This one is a little bit brighter and more in your face, like a little bit more, how should I say it? I wouldn't call it chunky, but these Moira ones just aren't as sophisticated as the Victoria Beckham ones. Depending on what your preference is, this I feel is more sophisticated, a little easier to blend. This feels creamier, but it's also a little bit more glitter heavy. So there are more particles in it, which is why it looks so impactful and incredibly high shine going on. This has a little less shine, but I do feel that the higher end products were easier to blend. Overall, this is a little bit more sophisticated and toned down, even though the shades were pretty dark. It still looks very put together. This is a little bit more intense and shimmering and impactful. So depending on your preferences, I think there are things to say here. In terms of how these applied, these all work wonderfully. Loving these little liquid shadows, but as I already mentioned, the Catrice one has my heart. It's far more liquidy than the Lisa Eldridge is. I do find that they give a similar effect though. This is a bit more shiny, also because the base underneath it was already lighter to begin with. These two eyeshadows, I really don't see a difference. I only use them on the lower lash line, so of course it's going to be different. But whether I use this Kiko water shadow on the lower lash line or this one, I really cannot see a difference. So for this like pop shot shadows, I know they came back for Christmas. So if you were looking into them, you really don't have to splurge. Just get one of the Kiko ones. With these, I was already comparing them. The Victoria Beckham one is really nice, but I found this a little bit dry actually, and therefore a little bit more difficult to blend. And it's more of a satin sheen rather than a high shine metallic sheen. So these feel more like a cream, and this feels more like a powder, and I feel they have a similar impact compared to that. I didn't have this shade. This is definitely darker than these two, but I ended up putting a little bit of Eureka over Muse to make it more cool toned, because Muse ended up looking pretty golden toned, but with a little bit of Eureka on top, it worked really well. Then it got that more cool tone vibe that the other side also has. For the eyeliners, I already mentioned, these are some of my favorites to begin with. Again, I cannot tell a difference. The Kiko one was ever so slightly warmer than the Victoria Beckham one, but I just used it as a little bit of eyeliner to smudge along the top lash line, and they worked really, really well on me. Oh, in case you were wondering what brush I was using to blend out all of these shadows pretty much, it was the BK Beauty 202. That's like my favorite brush nowadays for like blending out these like creamy bases that I sometimes do if I use a one and done shadow. I use that eyeshadow, I just dab it on with my finger and I use that brush to blend it out, and it works really well. For lips, I've got 3 options to show you, and 2 of them include lip liners. So bear with me. I think we're gonna go from lightest to darkest. I think that will be best. Because I have a really good dupe for this little lip combo that I got in a little set from Pat McGrath. This is the Divine Rose lipstick and lip liner. As far as I know, they're in the same shade. And I have this little set from Icon, which is an Italian-based makeup brand. This is the Matte Icon in mauve and the Intense Lip Pot Pencil in mauve. And I just feel that they're very similar. I think this is a little bit more cooler tone than this is, but we'll see. Can I do this like, I'll do my best to cut my lips in half. My lips aren't massive, so I always struggle doing these things. But let's go on with the Icon on this side and the Pat McGrath on that side. So now you know why I like my Icon little combination a little bit better than I do the Pat McGrath one. Formula-wise, these are incredibly similar, but shade-wise, as you can see, they're not. I feel like the Pat McGrath one pulls more towards the nude side. There's more orange there, and it's more like, it looked pretty pink going on, but compared to this one, I knew it would be darker because I have worn this, but this is just my preference of what I would wear for a more neutral leaning lip than something like this. So I definitely prefer the drugstore version here than I do this. And it's just a lot more plum leaning, so it's more cool toned as well. But formula wise, these are exactly the same. This lipstick is around 10 euros, and the lip liner is around 5, I believe. I picked this up in Florence last year, but you can find them online. They do have a website, and they are a Naples-based makeup brand. Naples is located in Italy, where there's a lot of Pat McGrath makeup made, also in Italy. So that I find the formulas of these lip pencils as well as these lipsticks so incredibly similar is no surprise there, I think, and I like this shade just a lot better than I do the Pat McGrath, so I tend to get more wear out of this combo than I do this. Because I also want to show you the comparison between my Lisa Eldridge Insanely Saturated lipstick in New Wave and the Catrice Scandalous Matte in Casually Overdressed. I've been comparing these for a while. I've done swatches side by side of this in other videos, but I've never put them on together on my lips. So I'm curious to see what the contrast is actually going to be like if I actually put them on side by side. This is, of course, a purpley pink lipstick, and I definitely don't think you need the Lisa Eldridge if you already own the Catrice. I actually wear my Catrice one over the Lisa Eldridge because I feel this is a little bit more pinky leaning, and it is a little bit more cooler tone than this one is. So I tend to prefer the drugstore one here as well. So let me put on the Lisa Eldridge. Can you tell a difference? Because I can't. On my lips, these pull exactly the same. When I was first applying this, it definitely looked lighter, but as I was building the pigment, because the Catrice one does have a slightly thinner formula, so I think this is a little bit easier to sort of like control almost, whereas the Lisa Eldridge is like boom, pigment instantly. That's why they're called the Insanely Saturated, but there is no difference between these two lipsticks on my lips. And that brings me to another Lisa Eldridge dupe. I have discovered that I really enjoy the Kiko Milano creamy color lip liners, and that they are just really similar to the Lisa Eldridge ones. I don't have the correct shade here. I have the Lisa Eldridge one in Jazz because I want my lip liner to actually be slightly darker. But with the Kiko Milano, I decided to go with shade 13, which is going to be an exact dupe for the lipstick we're going for. So on the Lisa Eldridge side, I don't have a shade dupe, but formula-wise, these are definitely dupes. And then formula-wise as well as shade-wise, Lisa Eldridge's Velvet Ribbon and the Velvet Passion in shade Cherry from Kiko are exactly the same. They are that perfect, super bright blue-toned red that I love to wear, especially in the festive season. And I think with this like neutrally taupe leaning eye look, and then throwing on a red like this, chef's kiss. Not just even for the holidays, but every day. So let me put these on so we can compare. So this is the lip lines compared, and the Kiko one isn't as bright compared to the Lisa Eldridge as I had expected. It's definitely brighter and a little bit more blue toned. Jazz is definitely a little bit deeper, but they're very comparable. They're more comparable even shade-wise than I had expected. Shade-wise, however, not only is Lisa Eldridge Ribbon one of my favorite reds to begin with, like it looks so good on me. If I want that perk me up sort of moment in a lipstick, I go for Ribbon. But Kiko's Cherry, it's the same. I do feel that the Kiko has also taken a line out of Charlotte Tilbury's book, because their lipsticks in this range have that squared off bullet that Charlotte Tilbury is known for doing. But in terms of like wear time and how these last formula-wise, these are very similar. Again, Kiko Milano, Italian-based makeup brand. Lisa Eldridge makes a lot of her makeup in Italy, so I do feel there is overlap there as well. And I like both of these lip liners with it. You can definitely tell that Jazz is ever so slightly deeper, so that has my preference with a lip like this. And I was definitely messing it up because trying to apply 2 of these lipsticks on pretty small lips was a challenge, I have to tell you, but I like this look, and these are, again, 100% the same. All right, so that's it. Those are all of the makeup dupes that I wanted to show you from both high-end and drugstore brands. I hope this video was informative, that you found it helpful finding these dupes at a more affordable price point, because you definitely do not have to go expensive. To me, if I look at this side of my face, I see a really pretty makeup look. If I look at this side of my face, I see a really pretty makeup look. I don't think anyone, if they didn't know I had sat down to film this video, would realize that this was completely different products. I definitely feel that the eyeshadow, now that it's had some time to like sit and marinate on my lids, that both sides are just as pretty. And I have to say, putting that Lisa Eldridge eyeshadow over the mink eyeshadow from Victoria Beckham is something I had never done before, but I really like that combo. So that's something I'm going to do in the future for sure, because it's such a quick, easy, smoky eye, especially layered with the eyeliner, which I really enjoy. So yeah, I am really, really chuffed with how this makeup came together. Let me know in a comment down below what your favorite dupes are, because I love finding dupes. It takes a while though for me to gather this many and being able to do a full face makeup look. So yeah, it's probably going to be a while until I can do something like this again. So thumbs up this video if you liked it, and subscribe to the channel, because I do make regular content 4 times a week over on this channel, once a week on my second channel, and I also have a blog where I review a lot of these things and have like dedicated blog posts with swatches and what things look like on my face. So yeah, stay tuned for all of that goodness, and I hope to catch you in one of those places. For now, I hope you have a great day, and I see you in my next one. Bye-bye!